Hey guys, here we go into a video discussing Lomachenko's performance against Pedraza, or rather, I would say, Pedraza's performance against Lomachenko, and how that's going to affect the perception that people have of him in boxing, and his potential for fighting fighters like Gervonta Davis, or more exciting, or more interesting, and more relevant at the moment, Mikey Garcia. With Mikey Garcia moving up in weight so many times, seemingly for bigger paydays and bigger fights, might this be a big fight for him? Now, the first thing that I want to discuss, and we're going to do a few different film studies during the course of this video, but what I want to be discussing right now is why Pedraza was so successful, I'll say, and I don't want to say successful because he didn't win the fight. Even though he didn't get knocked out, there was never a point in the fight in which you were like, oh, Lomachenko's losing. And that's very important to remember because of the dominant style in which he's constantly fighting, and he's constantly, able to dominate, basically, just the people that he fights. You just expect more out of him, and people don't understand what they're seeing, so they see a performance like that and go, oh wow, versus seeing a performance like Tyson Fury, who just quote-unquote outboxed Deontay Wilder, and if you look at the CompuBox stats, Wilder was able to keep Fury from landing more than 10 punches per round in almost every round, and knock him down twice, right? So you think about things in an objective point of view, and you gotta wonder, did Tyson Fury really dominate Wilder or outbox him really that well if he got dropped twice and he wasn't landing any punches of his own? Whereas Lomachenko was landing punches against Pedraza all night, and dropped him twice, right? So a little bit of perspective there, especially since this is the fighter that we call the pound-for-pound number one. Another perspective, to have, or more perspective to have, is that Mayweather had a lot of close fights. Castillo won. There was another good one that I was thinking, but both of the Maidana fights were close. Just because you have a close fight doesn't mean you're any less of a fighter. Other fighters can be good fighters too. Look at Golovkin-Canelo. Even though I edge Golovkin in both fights, Canelo did a fantastic job, and that doesn't mean that Golovkin's pound for pound any worse of a fighter just because he didn't get the nod against Canelo, or vice versa. And by the way, Canelo is moving up my pound for pound list, regardless of whether he won that fight or not. It was just a fantastic performance. But getting into the Pedraza and Lomachenko fight, I want to talk about why he was so, seemingly successful. And the first thing that we're going to look at is the active guard. Actually, to be honest, it's the only thing we're going to look at. Watch Pedraza as he comes forward, right? Feinting, changing levels. He's testing Lomachenko in a way that he hasn't been tested before. Feinting, coming in with the jab, right? And notice how far away he is, right? Is he really expecting to shoot and land this jab? I'm not sure, right? But he has an active guard. He's moving his lead hand a lot. He's coming forward. He's constantly changing angles, right? And his head isn't in one spot. Look at how he's here, and he transfers his weight to his front foot as he starts walking forward. He's in and out, right? Constantly giving him different looks, and even when he does land the jab to the body, he's not overcommitting. He's not trying to land it like a hard punch, and that's a problem that a lot of fighters have, is they try to make their jab quote-unquote count. They hit really hard with it. They don't understand how to use their jab to set their other punches up. But look at how Pedraza just taking small steps in, controlling him, feinting, and he's giving Lomachenko something to think about. He's constantly testing him and testing him mentally rather than testing him physically, and that's what most of his other opponents have tried to do, is test him physically. They think that the way to beat Lomachenko is to be rough with him, like Salido, right? They saw this, he had a tough fight with Salido, so they want to be aggressive. They want to, bully him. And Lomachenko has found a way to overcome that. Even in the Salido fight, when he started coming back and almost knocked Salido out, it showed that he was making adjustments, and even during the course of the fight, he was able to handle it. But look at Pedraza coming forward, feinting, and look at this motion. This is so important right here. Just look at how he rocks forward, right? Boom, dips to the outside, very Lomachenko-like, and Lomachenko has to respect that because he doesn't know if that's going to be a straight right hand or if it's just him taking an angle. And that's what people like Tim Bradley miss. They don't understand about slipping to the outside constantly for Lomachenko. You know, Tim Bradley did a horrible job commenting that fight, saying, oh, he makes this mistake, he does this, he does that. Tim Bradley has no idea what he's talking about. You know, don't tell him that I said that, because he'll beat me up and he can do it. But he doesn't understand that that's the reason why that straight left hand was finding a home for Lomachenko so well, is because he would slip to the outside so much, get you desensitized to that weight transfer, right? Watch the weight transfer. This is the same motion that you'll make if you throw a straight right hand, right? You transfer your weight from your right leg to your left leg, and then you land a good shot, you know? And that's exactly what Lomachenko does with it. Not only does he have the opportunity, and we're going to discuss this a little more too, but not only does he have, particularly when we watch the Mikey Garcia film, but not only does he have the opportunity to throw a right hand there, Pedraza, but if a punch came, right? If a punch came, he could circle out to the outside of Lomachenko, exactly like Lomachenko does, right? But it's this active guard and this, right? Jab, right hand, left hook, right? And he's just constantly probing at Lomachenko, testing Lomachenko, and seeing what Lomachenko is going to do in response to this. You know, again, beautiful active guard, slipping to the inside. And look at how when he slips to the outside, right, Lomachenko ducks down, right? Lomachenko has to respect the punches may be coming. So he's controlling Lomachenko right now. And Lomachenko's, you know, letting himself be controlled. You know, there are obviously things that he can do. He can battle for lead hand dominance. He can be more assertive with his fighting on the inside. But Lomachenko doesn't like to, I don't want to say waste punches, but doesn't like to take all of the free punches that you give him. He really likes to make his shots count and walk you into some big ones, as we saw in the 11th round. But look at the work that Pedraza is doing all in the first round. Look at that. Feinting, ducking, changing levels, constantly feinting, changing levels again, feinting again, right? Goes to the high guard, right? High guard, right? Boom. Slips to the outside. And again, look at when he slips to the outside, right? Lomachenko has to duck down because he thinks a right hand is coming. You know, he's doing a very good job of testing Lomachenko and giving Lomachenko something to think about that most fighters don't. You know, most fighters don't have an active guard like this, and it allowed Pedraza to be in the fight enough by not allowing Lomachenko to be as aggressive as he wants to be. And then we see, you know, Lomachenko trying to get some offense, you know, and not being super successful, right? He's still testing the waters. He still has to figure Pedraza out. And it was just a fantastic performance from Pedraza. But as we saw, you still have to be good at that game. You know, and the problem with Pedraza in particular is that when he fights this way, he probably doesn't have a lot of people to test him in that manner. A lot of people to really make him think and make him work on these levels, right? When he fights people, they're probably the same kind of people that Lomachenko's fighting, right? And we'll get into those people. I'm gonna call out Nicholas Walters, right? Not that I think that Pedraza would beat him. I don't know. Who knows, right? I don't give a shit. But it's the idea that those people aren't testing Pedraza on that level either, right? And now there's like the Tank Davis thing. You know, who knows what the problem with that is? What that was? Tank Davis got, you know, he got pretty lit up against Pedraza as well before knocking him out. That was a very good fight, and to be honest, I think I probably would have picked Pedraza to win that fight pre-fight, just because I think that Pedraza's a pretty good fighter. I think that if I had done a breakdown on this video or this fight, I would have picked this to be a tough victory for Lomachenko as well because of the active guard. Anyway, what I wanted to say is, unfortunately for Pedraza, he doesn't have anyone to test him on these levels so that he can get better at this game. And as we saw between Usyk and Tony Bellew, Bellew, whatever. When Tony tried to play that game with Usyk as well, Usyk was like, oh, okay, you want to switch to a control game rather than a timing game? Okay, I got you. And he just completely outschooled him in the second round on all those timings and forced Bellew into like a retreating mode back to the timing in which he was successful-ish in the first round. Fortunately for a lot of fighters in boxing, the barrier for entry into using your active guard and feinting and probing and learning how to do that stuff is very low. It is very, very, very low, and it's not very hard to have a lot of success in those timings or in those instances in which you use them or utilize them against your opponents, because your opponents a lot of time haven't seen that kind of stuff before. It's just not very common. You know, and if you read through any of my comments when I first start discussing like active guard and, you know, feinting and probing and all that stuff, a lot of people immediately say that it's a waste of movement and it's a waste of energy, you know. But as we've seen time and time again with Lomachenko, the way that he soundly destroyed Rigondeaux refused to even fight him because he was so perplexed. The active guard system is a fantastic way to monopolize your opponent's mindset and monopolize the things that they're allowed to think about when they're fighting you. And by not allowing them to think about ways to hurt you, they wind up only thinking about what you're doing, and that becomes this huge trap as you constantly feint, probe, change angles, and switch up the patterns on them as they're trying to figure you out. You turn into a Rubik's Cube that they've never seen before. Now, what does this mean for the Mikey Garcia-Lomachenko fight? Well, let's fucking find out. Whoops, that video's not up for some reason. Let's see. Nope, not that one. This one right here. So we've got Mikey Garcia versus Dejan Zlaticanin. A fantastic performance from Mikey Garcia. And what I wanted to focus on, and I'm going to put this one in slow-mo because Showtime loves to fuck with me, yo. This video's guaranteed going to get taken down because I have these clips in here. I just wanted to say, fuck you, Showtime. You guys are a bunch of fucking clowns. I would say a lot more worse stuff, but I think people from my work watch these videos, so I'll keep it as PG as I can. But, you know, Mikey Garcia now, look at him with his active guard, right? Controlling the lead hand, right? Doing a good job. But there's one flaw with this, you know, with his active guard. It's that it's always on a timing, and he only uses his left hand. You know, watch Zlaticanin step forward. Whoops. Just watch Zlaticanin step forward. All right. Any second, VLC. Come on. Why you gotta do this to me, yo? I think VLC is produced by Showtime. Come on. What the fuck are you doing? Stupid piece of shit video. Alright, it's not gonna play for some reason. Alright, I gotta put it in real time because this is just fucking killing me. Come on. Yeah, get your shit together. Anyway, watch Zlaticanin's front foot. Every time he starts stepping on that front foot, Mikey Garcia brings his hands up or looks to control him, right? Boom, step, step, and then watch Mikey Garcia. His front foot and Mikey Garcia's lead hand are in tandem, right? Boom, lead front, boom, lead front, boom, 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 right? Boom, every single time, and that's all Mikey Garcia's active guard is. Now he does do a good job right here of walking Zlaticanin into that shot, right? Look at how he steps, right? Control him, step, and then 1-2, boom. Great job, right? But the only problem is that Mikey Garcia doesn't necessarily have an active guard. He has a reactive guard. Now, I'll play a little bit of the clips again. But notice that Mikey Garcia's right shoulder, right? His weight transfer. He never transfer his weight from his back foot to his front foot. It's always there, right? So what happens the first time that he steps in and starts moving to shift his weight? He throws a right hand, and that makes him easy to time because of the fact that his active guard style, when he fights southpaws, he doesn't have control over it, right? there's a method to his madness, and there's a reason why he's doing it, and it's to time his opponent coming forward. So in that regard, it's a reactive guard rather than an active guard. And it's great. He's had a lot of success fighting southpaws. He fought, even fighting, let's see, who was that? Robert Easter Jr., who he just fought, utilized timing there as well. No counterpunching on that timing, interestingly enough, in spite of the fact that Easter likes to step with his jab. He wasn't countering him, so that'll be a huge problem. Unless he does that against southpaws, which we don't really get to see in this fight because he just dominates Latichinin. For some reasons, Latichinin has never seen this before. But let's take a look at another fight. And yes, I dare say that Nicholas Walters is very similar to Mikey Garcia. That might not be a very popular opinion, but if you watch the style, as Lomachenko is stepping forward, watch him step on his front foot, boom, Walters is trying to catch him right there, and that's going to be a constant as he steps forward, and then on that timing, he's trying to catch him, and Lomachenko is able to move to the outside, right? Boom, again, trying to time him on that front foot, trying to time him not only on his front foot, but trying to time him as he slips to the outside. And this is very important, right? And as we see, again, stepping on that front foot, right? And then Walter's trying to time him again. Stepping, slipping, right? Step. And then as soon as he goes to step to the outside, right? The same look. Walters tries to catch him with the jab, and Lomachenko says, "Oh, I can see that coming. He's timing me." Right? Slipping to the outside, jabbing, and then in the same pattern after the jab, he goes to slip to the outside after rocking back on his back leg, and Walters tries to catch him again, And we'll play these clips again. I'll play the HBO ones again, but you can see dips to the outside or to the inside, and then he goes to dip to the outside, and Walters tries to time him, right? This is very similar to the style of fighting that Mikey Garcia employs in his fights when he fights southpaws. And again, you can see him, right, trying to time him as he slips to the outside with the jab and having zero success. I think this is exactly the way that the fight with Mikey Garcia is going to go. And I think that Lomachenko is, if they ever were to fight, that Lomachenko would absolutely dominate Mikey Garcia. No ifs, ands, or buts. Again, shooting the jab, and then again waiting for the control from Walters, just boom, and then just brilliantly picking off the timing and not allowing Walters to time him, and if you go back and watch that fight again, stepping on the front foot, right, as he steps on the front foot, Walters tries to catch him, right. I think that it's going to be a very, very easy fight for Lomachenko if they were to fight, because I've never seen Mikey Garcia really fight anybody. I've only ever seen him fight off of a timing that he's created or that he's manipulated and trying to stay on rhythm with his opponents to catch them with shots. Not necessarily bringing them down to his rhythm, but being on their rhythm. That's exactly what Lomachenko looks to do. That's his specialty, is when people are trying to time him, especially when he's doing this. If you guys have seen the rest of the Lomachenko fight, he just spends the entire fight getting on the outside of Walters' lead hand and then pounding him to the body and to the head. Easily able to set up those shots. Now, there are some opportunities in the fight where Walters was able to catch Lomachenko with some, like 2 or 3 hard shots during the course of the fight. But is that going to be enough? One shot, wasn't enough for Wilder. And, we've seen that Lomachenko can take a punch. He's fought big punchers before. And I just don't think that Mikey Garcia, once the timing has been figured out, I don't think Mikey Garcia has the craft to beat a fighter like Lomachenko. I think that, saying that because Pedraza had the success that he had in his fight, that Mikey Garcia will be able to have success in his fight with Lomachenko is is just untrue. I just don't think it's true at all. Mikey Garcia just doesn't have the kind of active guard, the kind of feinting, the kind of probing, the kind of weight transfers and slips. And that's another thing that I wanted to discuss, is that these timings that Mikey Garcia has when he's doing this, one of the reasons why it's so good for Pedraza to be feinting with the right hand, and as you see, Mikey Garcia's right hand glued to his head, right? He's never feinting with his shoulders, right? He's never feinting the right hand. He's only controlling with the lead hand and throwing the hook. That means that Mikey Garcia has very limited options with where he can move, right? With where he can transfer his weight, and what kind of motions that he can make after each punch or attack from his opponents. And that's why you see awkward stuff like this, right? Where he has to get his hand on his head. He brings his hand around to catch that right hand. Well, there's a better one over here, I think. Let's see. Let's not play too much of this fight, but stuff like this, where his opponent is attacking him, and his body is, just kind of stuck, and his opponent is able to cut the ring off on him right here, right? Because Mikey Garcia is not transferring any of his weight to his front foot, right? He doesn't move to the outside. He doesn't slip to get to the outside to move off the ropes. He just allows Lomachenko to cut the ring off of him, right? And you have just, awkward stuff like that. Whereas Pedraza, if you're constantly shifting and moving your weight, you can slip, you can angle off to the side, you can slip to the inside and then pivot off as well. There are just so many more options that you have every time you transfer your weight, or you throw a punch, or you do this, than you do when you never transfer your weight to feint, probe, or anything. Anyway, I don't think that the success that Pedraza had, or the difficult-ish time that Lomachenko had in the Pedraza fight, will transfer over to him fighting fighters like Gervonta Davis or Mikey Garcia. I think that those fighters, while Pedraza was limited in his way, he just didn't have the craft, the experience to fight at this level, or to fight someone who could fight him on that level. I don't think that Mikey Garcia possesses the knowledge of boxing for having an active guard, understanding his options from each pivot, from each weight transfer, in order to capitalize on it and to create openings and to occupy Lomachenko's mind long enough to keep him off of him. I think that, to be honest, Mikey Garcia plays right into Lomachenko's hands. And the same probably with Tank Davis. I'd have to watch more fights on Tank Davis, I think. Although I think Tank Davis is a pretty good fighter. I would have actually loved to have seen Mikey Garcia versus Tank. But anyway, my voice is going, and I'm not feeling super great. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to hit me up on that Patreon. I appreciate all the support. Like, comment, and subscribe, and share my videos. If you can't afford to support me on Patreon, just share my video with someone. Post it on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Instagram, I don't know, whatever you guys want to do, and I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.